And you are for this program, please get seated. If you are on this hall and you are for this program, please get seated. Ẹ jẹ́ kí a jókòó. Èèyàn díẹ̀ bíi méjì mẹ́ta ló gbọ́dọ̀ wà lórí ìdúró. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وسلم أي مسلمين أبامي يوم بوا نبي كوريله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته أدوك فون الله وبا ọba ẹlẹ́dàá wa tó ní àsìkò tó dẹ̀ ní ìkápá lórí ẹ̀ ọba tó ní àwọn ipò ọlá tó ní ìkápá lórí àwọn ipò ọlá yìí tó máa ń fi ẹni tó bá fẹ́ sí àyè ọlá àti ipò ọlá fún àsìkò tó bá fẹ́ ní ìdíwọ̀n ọba ọlọ́run nìkan ló wà nípò ọlá ẹ̀ kí ẹnikẹ́ni tó gun orí ipò ọlá òun náà ló sì máa wà nípò ọlá ẹ̀ nígbà gbogbo èèyàn bá kúrò nípò ọlá wọn ọlọ́run la gbé títóbi fún ta dúpẹ́ fún abẹ́lọ́run ọba kó bá lékún ìkẹ́ àtìgẹ̀ fún ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tó jẹ́ pé àwòkọ́ṣe tiẹ̀ náà ni gbogbo wa ń wòkọ́ṣe ta fi nírètí pé táyé bá da ọ̀run náà tún máa dá fún gbogbo wa kọ́lọ́run yọ̀ǹda bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́yìn bẹ́ẹ̀ ìkẹ́ àti ọlá ọlọ́run kó máa bá oníkálukú wa ìpàdé wa tòní ó ní í ṣe pẹ̀lú àgbékalẹ̀ àwa mùsùlùmí tá a wà ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn àwa mùsùlùmí tá a wà ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn láti lè máa rí ètò yanjú dáadáa a pín sí igun mẹ́rin Yewa Rẹ́mọ Ìjẹ̀bú àti Ẹ̀gbá ní ìsọ̀rí mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin láti ní àwọn adarí tí wọ́n jẹ́ àwọn àgbàlagbà bàbá àtàlájì àti adarí wa tí wọ́n jẹ́ imam àwọn mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin bí wọ́n ṣe jẹ́ mẹ́rin ni wọ́n papọ̀ jẹ́ ọ̀kan láti máa darí gbogbo àwa mùsùlùmí tá a wà ní Ogun State àwọn ni wọ́n gbà yín lálejò sà àwọn ni wọ́n ṣe ìnáwó ìnara àti ìgbéjókòó ètò tí a ń ṣe yìí torí bẹ́ẹ̀ láti fi hàn wá àwọn tí wọ́n gbà yín lálejò gẹ́gẹ́ bí adíje dupò lónìí ẹni àkọ́kọ́ nínú àwọn mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin ni bàbá wa àgbà tí wọ́n jẹ́ President General League of Imams and Alfas of Ogun State bàbá wa Alhaji Imam Fadilatu Sheikh Thikrullah Babalọlá bàbá kan máa juwọ́ sókè kan kí wọ́n ní kẹ̀kẹ́bọ̀ ní tẹ̀lé wọn ní bàbá wa àgbà tí wọ́n jẹ́ imam fún gbogbo akilẹ̀ Rẹ́mọ bàbá wa Imam Fadilatu Sheikh Alhaj Abdulkadir Junaid wọ́n kì í káàbọ̀ ní àtẹ̀lé wọn ní bàbá wa àgbà tí wọ́n jẹ́ imam ilẹ̀ akilẹ̀ Ìjẹ̀bú wọ́n ti wá láti jẹta wọ́n sì ṣe wàhálà tó pọ̀ lánàá wọ́n tún ní nǹkan tó ṣe pàtàkì tí wọ́n ń ṣe lọ́wọ́ lónìí àti pàápàá wípé àwọn bàbá bá tí wọ́n wà bá ṣe wọ̀ lórí kalẹ̀ yìí àtàwọn tó wà ń bí àtàwọn tí wọ́n sì ń bí inú wọn wọ́n wà nínú ìfẹ́rakù ẹnìkan tó ṣe pàtàkì láàrin wa bàbá wa tí wọ́n jẹ́ ìmọ̀ọ́mù ìlú Ọ̀yọ́ wọ́n ṣaláìsí lóru mọ́jú bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ń wọ àwọn bàbá wa lórí kalẹ̀ yìí ìfẹ́rakù wà lára wọn so kọ́lọ́n bá wa ṣe àforíjì fún bàbá wa tí wọ́n ti lọ àwọn tó kù kọ́lọ́n jẹ́ kẹ́mi wọ́n gùn lórí dáadáa bàbá wa tí wọ́n jẹ́ ìmáàmù àgbà fún ìlú Ìjẹ̀bú àwọn tí wọ́n represent wọn náà ni bàbá wa tí wọ́n jẹ́ mufti fún gbogbo Ogun State bàbá wa Imam Shile Rufai wọ́n kí wọ́n ní kẹ̀kẹ́ àbọ̀ and bàbá wa àgbà tí wọ́n wà ń kalẹ̀ pẹ̀lú wọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ ìmáàmù àgbà fún gbogbo ilẹ̀ Ẹ̀gbá àwọn náà ni bàbá wa Imam Sheikh Fadilatu Sheikh Sadalat Bangbola wọ́n kí wọ́n ní ẹ̀ka àbọ̀ yàtọ̀ sí àwọn bàbá wa tí wọ́n rán wa ń ṣe yìí tí à ń jíṣẹ́ fún a ní àwọn imam lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ tí wọ́n wà níbí ẹnì kọ̀ọ̀kan tẹ́ rí lórí ìjókòó láàrin wa wọ́n represent ó fẹ́ jẹ́ ẹnì kọ̀ọ̀kan ẹgbẹ́ kọ̀ọ̀kan ní wọ́n represent l'Ogun State àwọn ẹgbẹ́ yìí nítorí pé a lè pè gbogbo mùsùlùmí papọ̀ kí wọ́n wá pàdé yín níbí la ṣe mú àwọn adarí àwọn olórí ẹgbẹ́ kọ̀ọ̀kan láti wà níbí so èèyàn kọ̀ọ̀kan tẹ́ ẹ̀ ń wò lórí ìjókòó ẹgbẹ́ kọ̀ọ̀kan ni àwọn èèyàn kọ̀ọ̀kan tí ẹ̀ ń wò yẹn kẹ́lẹ̀ mọ̀ pé gbogbo Ogun State ni ẹ̀ ń bá sọ̀rọ̀ níbí àti pàápàá ètò tí à ń ṣe yìí wọ́n ń wò káàkiri àgbáyé à ń ṣe live stream wà lórí YouTube tí àwọn èèyàn ń bá wa tẹ̀lé tí wọ́n dẹ̀ ń béèrè ìbéèrè níkàlẹ̀ ń bí a ní àwọn imam lóríṣiríṣi lẹ́gbẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́ a ní àwọn secretaries lóríṣiríṣi lẹ́gbẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́ tí wọ́n wà níkàlẹ̀ pẹ̀lú wa ṣùgbọ́n torí àsìkò torí ètò yìí ó wà regulated by time seriously ká tó ṣetán ẹlòmíì máa tún dé àdẹ̀fẹ́ kí àwọn olóṣèlú bó dẹ̀ pé ọmọ ọ̀yà ara wọn ni wọ́n olólùfẹ́ ara wọn ni wọ́n ṣùgbọ́n bí orogún náà ni orogún méjì tó bá pàdé wọ́n lè má jà ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n lè má rẹ́rìn síra wọn so àfẹ́ mi sọ pé kò dàpọ̀ mọ́ra wọn níkàlẹ̀ ń bí lẹ́yìn tí a ti kí gbogbo àwọn bàbá wa níkàlẹ̀ ẹni tó jókòó tó ń wòyìn lọ́ọ̀kan ọ ni chairman session yìí máa introduce wọn properly later àwọn panelists wa tí wọ́n máa bá yín sọ̀rọ̀ máa introduce àwọn náà ṣùgbọ́n ká tó tẹ̀síwájú ẹ jẹ́ ká gbé oríyìn fún ilẹ̀ wa Nàìjíríà kí a ṣe national anthem ẹ ká dìde dúró ká ṣe national anthem. lẹ́yìn tí a ti gbóríyìn fún ilẹ̀ wa Nàìjíríà Ìṣẹ́yà ọmọ Ogun. ẹ ṣe pọ̀ kó tó di pé ajókòó ọjà ká ṣe àdúrà ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ nígbà tí bàbá wa Imam Hussein Kẹ́hìndé tí wọ́n bá mi fetí kan bàbá wa àgbà tí wọ́n represent bàbá wa àgbà láti ìlú Ìjẹ̀bú kí wọ́n fún wa ní àdúrà ìbẹ̀rẹ̀.
pẹ̀lú yọ̀ǹda bàbá wa àgbà ní gbogbo akilẹ̀ Ìjẹ̀bú tí bàbá wa mufti àgbà nípínlẹ̀ Ògùn ṣojú wọn ní ìjókòó yìí kọ́lọ́n kó fi àlùbáríkà sí àti àwọn adíje tí a pè síjòkó àti alága tó gba àwọn panelist tí wọ́n máa béèrè kọ́lọ́n kó bá a ṣe àmọ̀nà wọn eléyìí má ṣe ní ìbàlẹ́jọ́ àbúrú fún wa Fataha bismillahir rahmanir rahim alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin arrahmanir rahim maliki yawmiddin iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
ẹ jẹ́ ká jókòó ẹ ṣé. alága wa tòní tí wọ́n jókòó tí wọ́n ń wò yín lọ́ọ̀kan ọ ní bàbá wa alhaj la Agbonmagbe ẹ káàbọ̀ sà akin pọ̀. àwọn tí wọ́n máa jẹ́ panelist wa lónìí ẹni àkọ́kọ́ tí ọwọ́ mi kọ́kọ́ kàn ní obìnrin láàrin wọn Hajia Kudrat Robiu, barrister Abdulhakeem ni wọ́n wà láàrin wọn, Abdulgani bẹ́ẹ̀ni Somotu yes. ẹ ṣé púpọ̀. ẹni kẹta wọn ni professor láti Federal University of Agriculture Abẹ́òkúta, Professor Kọ́láwọlé Adébáyọ̀. ẹ káàbọ̀. bí a ti máa ń ṣètò yìí ni wípé ìkíni káàbọ̀ akí káàbọ̀ barrister Olúbíyì Otegbeye tí wọ́n jẹ́ adíje dipò fún gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn lórí àsíá ẹgbẹ́ ADC. akí adíje dipò kejì tí wọ́n jẹ́ deputy yín Alhaji Ilyas Túndé Awónúgà káàbọ̀ sí ìdí ètò yìí. bí a ṣe máa ń ṣètò yìí ni pé nísìnyí alága máa bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ díẹ̀, tó bá ti bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ níwọ̀nba a máa gbé fídíò clip kan síbẹ̀ yẹn sà tẹ́ máa wò fúngbà díẹ̀. tẹ́ bá ti wò tán èròǹgbà yín àti àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ tí àwọn mùsùlùmí bá yín sọ láti inú fídíò clip yìí ẹ máa wá kó gbogbo ẹ̀ papọ̀ láti fi bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ àti dáhùn àwọn ìbéèrè tí a máa bí yín léèrè. kò jẹ́ bí ó ṣe jẹ́. alága ẹ fún wa ní ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣìtì síwájú díẹ̀. ẹ jókòó sà, ẹ jókòó. Thank you sir.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Màá fẹ́ lọ ní èdè tiwantiwa torí Yorùbá ni wá. Ká má máa sọ èdè òyìnbó púpọ̀. Eléyìí náà fi kọ́ wa láti inú oyún wá. Torí tá a bá lọ káàkiri èdè wọn náà máa ń sọ jù. Káwa Yorùbá ká má sọ àṣà wa nù, àdáwà ti ń parí. Mo kí excellency sí ààbọ̀ pé a pè wọ́n jẹ́ wa, wọ́n wò pé àwọn wo náà pè yìí jẹ́ kí n kàn fi kan ránṣẹ́ kẹ́nìkan lọ ṣojú mi jàre. ẹ káàbọ̀. àwọn panelists náà àwọn gan ní kókó ibẹ̀, mo kí wọ́n pé wọ́n kú iṣẹ́. ibi tí n bá fi ọ̀rọ̀ síbẹ̀ mo fi síbẹ̀ pé torí àgbà ibi àgbà là ń bá àgbà. gbogbo àwọn bàbá wa tán wá láti orígun mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn mo fi kọ̀wọ̀tọ̀wọ̀ kí n pé ẹ káàbọ̀ sà. ẹ kú akitiyan náà. eléyìí tẹ́ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tún bẹ̀rẹ̀ yìí ó jẹ́ ìwúrí àti ìgbéga fún gbogbo àwa mùsùlùmí nípínlẹ̀ Ògùn. torí rà yìí pé tí n bá ní kí n sọ ó fẹ́ jẹ́ àkọ́kọ́ tó máa rinlẹ̀ gègé lélẹ́yìí jẹ́. bàbá Ọlọ́run àtúbọ̀ máa fi kún ìmọ̀ yín sà, àgbáyé àtúbọ̀ dálẹ̀ fún wa sà, ẹnìkan jùlọ fún wa báyìí. gbogbo àwọn ìmáàmù àtàwọn àfáà tán wà ń bí mo kí yín ẹ̀kú àbọ̀ ẹ̀kú àtìyàn torí akitiyan yín òun àti ń rí àpẹẹrẹ adẹ̀rẹ̀ pé bó bá kanlẹ̀ yóò kanlẹ̀ fún gbogbo wa. gbogbo àwa ẹgbẹ́rẹ́gbẹ́ àti àwọn ìjọ níjọ tó wá náà mo kí ẹ káàbọ̀ sí àsìkò yìí kí Ọlọ́run kó fi ìdùn sí gbogbo wa. ó ń bọ̀ ó ti dé tán o. ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣe dáadáa ká ṣe ẹ̀tọ́ kí gómìnà wa náà tán bá ti jáwé o gẹ́gẹ́ bí èrò ọkàn wọn. There is mission and vision. I believe it's going to deliver to the generals of Ogun State. I believe it's not going to let us down. As a barrister, I know it's not going to let us down. I'm not saying is whatever he has in his pocket to tell us. But I believe by the time he now deliver his speech or whatever he tells us, we are going to enjoy it. And I hope we are not going to regret you for coming and you being deposed. That's my prayer. Ọlọ́run á jẹ́ kí gbogbo wa ká ríre ṣe ká dẹ̀ jẹ́ adùn bẹ̀ tó bá máa ṣẹlẹ̀ tán ẹnìkankan ní wa ò ní pẹ̀dín o wọn ní dúró ìṣẹ́jú kan fún gbogbo wa o pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run àwa tá bẹ̀rẹ̀ náà la máa rí àbọ̀ ọbẹ̀ o so máa sàlám.
Leadership. Interactive session with the governorship candidates 2023 electioneering process, Islam and leadership. Leadership is an integral and critical part of life of human beings. Its effectiveness brings people of diverse backgrounds, sex, age, ethnicity, race, color, education, religion, political affiliations together on a common path and lead them towards their desired goals. A good leader therefore transforms the potentials of people into a desirable reality. In Islam, leadership is choice made by Almighty Allah. Leaders should therefore be chosen on the basis of their characteristics and strengths, on the extent of their purification, and on the richness of their divine knowledge. Leaders are the servant of those they lead. Consequently, leadership should recognize the authority and sovereignty of the Creator of the heavens and earth. Be conscious of the authority of the Creator. Ensure their decisions with Him. Consult the people in their affairs and guide them with compassion and mercy. Leadership is about responsibility and accountability. Our state has had its own fair share of the good, the bad, and the ugly expected of any human groupings or society. An abridged catalogue is presented for your view. For any meaningful addition to any human development, the understanding of the past and the present are sacrosanct. The journey into the future can only be better if the driver understands the past better so he can avoid the potholes and carefully navigate the bends. Our dear state is the fourth state with the largest IGR as at 2021, 100.7 billion naira. 24th in terms of GDP, $10.47 billion. It has average budget of about 402 billion naira, an average expenditure of 384 billion naira. Recorded budget deviation performance of 31.70%, ranked 10th in the fiscal performance for 2022, ranked 6th in terms of its dependency on the federally distributed revenue, ranked 10th in terms of ability to grow revenue year on year, ranked 36th in terms of the available public revenue for honoring the capital expenditure component of the budget, ranked 33rd in terms of the debt comparative profile. Ogun State has the highest number of higher institutions in the country, 16th most populous state with a head count of 3.8 million people as at 2006 and an estimate of between 5 and 6 million now. Ogun State produced the first armored vehicle ARA in Nigeria, largest producer of limestone in Nigeria and indeed in Africa, leading state in terms of generating royalties for federal government, has over 10 untapped mineral resources, not among the top mineral producing states, major producer of some agricultural products like cassava, rice and poultry, ranked 18th on the ease of doing business, imported just $30.46 million to its economy, spent 1,920 naira on health per head, spent 6,305 naira on education per head. It has a payroll size of 29,528, has pensioner list of 14,124. The Treasury single account implementation just 0.91% of its finances. Ogun State does not have approved cash management strategy. The state's highest share of annual spending on the agriculture sector was 4.36% in 2019 and far below the 10% recommended benchmark. Ogun State has a vast, about 74% arable land, which is optimal for agricultural activities. The state also has vast rubber plantations in commercial quantities estimated at 500 hectares. Many local farmers had abandoned their farms for the fear of kidnappers. These are our demands. Our demands are not exhaustive due to the limited space and exigency of time. We shall from time to time reach out as we deemed fit as new ones are observed. The first one is the economy. We want positive changes in the ranking of the state with respect to all the parameters highlighted above. The incoming administration should make frantic effort to grow the IGR through untapped mineral resources, implement the TSA to the letter, evolve a cash management strategy and block all revenue leakages in the hope of becoming the state with the largest IGR or second. Reduce its budget performance deviation to the recommended 15%. Evolve a functional help desk with a view of driving service delivery in the public sector. Deploy the use of information technology in its operations and service delivery. Guide against unnecessary borrowing and emphasize the use of public-private partnership arrangement to deliver public goods. Clear backlog of staff deductions and pension arrears. We also expect the incoming administration to pay salaries and pensions as and when due. Improve the ease of doing business in the state and also grow the capital importation to about $10 billion, focusing more on foreign direct investment, especially with the untapped mineral resources and agriculture. Create an agency to support startup businesses and SMEs beyond the advancement of loans. Grant functional autonomy to local government and hand off some of their sources of finance. Evolve strategy to recruit, train, and keep qualified personnel in the state, especially those in the education, medical, and information technology sector. Drive talent hunt from among the bona fide citizens of the state and adequately reward excellence, innovation, and discoveries. Rebrand the state using its vast potentials of human and material resources. Create data banks and train data analytics. Decision of incoming administration should be information driven because the effectiveness and efficiency of one's decision is a function of the quality and quantity of information at hand. 2. Rights. We request the government of our dear state to ensure inclusiveness of all sections and poles of the state with equity, fairness, equality, and egalitarianism as instrument in the running of government to achieve the much desired progress and development. Equity, equality, justice, and fairness should be maintained as a standard in the distribution of appointment and benefits from government. Now to education. Ensure budgetary allocation to the education sector consistently meets the minimum benchmark for education. Increase its capital spending on education and health to 10,000 naira per head. We demand the restoration of unhindered teaching of IRS in schools aided by pragmatic employment and deployment of IRS teachers. On security, evolve and sustain security innovation towards crime prevention. Pay special cognizance to the security monitoring of the large influx of non-indigens into the state who mostly engages in commercial motorcycle transportation. We request that our roads be saved from urchins, parading themselves as ticketers for motorcycle operators and commercial vehicles, their menace on the road pose a security threat. Concerted effort should be made to curb gross indiscipline and delinquencies among our youth. Now to agriculture. Revolutionize the state's agronomy with adequate investment or financial commitment.
Thank you very much for your attention. Your Excellency, that is Ogun State in the periscope of the Muslim community in the state. Bí ó ṣe rí lójú àwa Mùsùlùmí nìyẹn, ibi tí a rò pa bá dé nìyẹn. A fẹ́ kí ẹ̀yin náà wò pẹ̀lú ètò tẹ́ ní kẹ́dẹ̀ bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ látara ìjíròrò yín àti máa bá èrò tiwa náà pàdé kí Ogun State lè tẹ̀síwájú. Ètò yìí ní Yorùbá gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ Yorùbá òyìnbó lè wà ń bẹ̀ náà ká fi gánìṣì ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá ṣùgbọ́n ká má fi Yorùbá gánìṣì èbó ni ká fi gánìṣì Yorùbá. Àwọn tí wọ́n máa béèrè béèrè tí wà ní kalẹ̀ a fẹ́ kó jẹ́ wípé látara ìbéèrè tí wọ́n máa béèrè yìí kẹ́ ẹ hun àwọn èrò yín sínú àwọn ìbéèrè yìí. Mr. Chairman sir, ẹ lè pe ẹni tó bá wùn yín nínú àwọn tí wọ́n wà ní kalẹ̀ yìí láti béèrè béèrè. Hajia Kudrat Rabiu, Barrister Abdulgani àti Professor Kọ́láwọlé Adébáyọ̀. Bó bá ṣe wùn yín ní ká ṣe pé wọ́n ní kọ̀ọ̀kan.
I think let me start from Professor.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Your Excellency, you are welcome to this forum. Ẹ̀yin bàbá, mo kí yín ẹ kú ìjókòó. Ọlọ́run ò ní jẹ́ ká ṣe lásán. Ìbéèrè mi àkọ́kọ́ sà, ó ní ṣe pẹ̀lú àwọn young people. The population of young people in Ogun State is estimated to be about 30% of the entire population. And that is not counting the influx of unrecorded people from all over the nation into our state. I would like to ask you what your plans are, particularly in terms of education, in terms of youth engagement with sport, and in other forms of engagement for youth to reduce youth restiveness and increase their contribution to the economy of Ogun State. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Permit me first to observe a few protocols before I answer the questions. Mo kí Ọlọ́run Ọba, mo kí ẹ̀yin bàbá wa tó wà ní ìkàlẹ̀, the President General League of Imams and Alfas, Alhaji Sikirulai Babalola, mo kí the Chief Imam of Egba, Alhaji Bangola, mo kí Chief Imam of Ijebu, Sheikh Muftadin Gbadegesin, mo kí Chief Imam Remo, Alhaji Sheikh Abdul Qadir Junaid Yusuf, mo kí Chairman of the session, Alhaji Agbon Magbe, mo kí panelists, the team of panelists, mo kí gbogbo àwọn imams and alfas here present and those that are linked up through the internet and they are watching us. Mo kí yín ẹ kú iṣẹ́ ọpọlọ because
what caught my attention when I came in was that there is a directorate, and the directorate is named Directorate of Leadership and Good Governance. I'm so impressed that you have practicalized the faith by institutionalizing a structure that will take care of leadership and ensure good governance. Mo kí yín, all the members of the directorate. Mo dẹ̀ kí àwọn bàbá wa wípé ẹ kú aráfẹ́rakò ti bàbá Imam Ọ̀yọ́, kí Ọlọ́run foríjì wọn. When I saw that documentary, my initial reaction was, whoever did that should also be in this race. Because the author or any team that authored what we have had properly diagnosed the problem of our state and provide solutions. So as a matter of respect for that brilliant blueprint, I will request for copies for myself and my administration so that we can look at it and borrow from some of it. I came with a prepared text which I will share, both the soft copy and a few hard copies. But you are going to see that almost 70–80% of the content have already been reflected in this short but very brilliant, well put documentary about the state of affairs. Now let me quickly attend to the questions. I think you are talking how our youths can be gainfully employed and how the best of their potential can be sustained. Now the truth is this: the demography of the country has radically changed in the last 10 years. And I can tell you for free that about 72% of the Nigerian population, they are under the age of 32. 72% of our population are under 32. And then you see the vast energy untapped of all these youths. And because it has been grossly neglected over the years, their energy has been deployed into other unprofitable things. And that's why we are seeing some of the social issues that we have are largely being populated by the youth. But on the other hand, if anybody had cared to visit the highbrow of Lagos and you see the amazing things that the youth are doing in the area of technology, in the area of medicine, in the area of education, in the area of entertainment, then you will marvel and you will thank Almighty Allah that there is future for Nigeria just because of the potentials, untapped potentials of the youth population. What do we need to do, as you have asked? Number one, we need to redefine who the youth is. we must get a clear definition of them, because at some point I engaged myself in this exercise. Who is the youth? And then I saw that all the human rights declarations and the constitutions, we don't have consistency. We have people that define it by age, and we have people that define it by vocation. That's why when you look at the constitution of the political parties, you can see a 54-year-old man that is the youth leader. And when I saw one of the parties paraded a youth leader of 54, then I was happy to look into the mirror and say, I am qualified to be a youth. It is very, very important that we should have a clear register of the youth. Number 2, we cannot adequately plan for youth unless we have adequate statistics of all these youth. And one of the things is, our administration is going to embark on this exercise in partnership with youth organizations across the state to register our youth, examine their strengths and shortcomings, and then be able to analyze holistically who needs what and what has to be done. The truth is, the antidote you are going to prescribe for one youth is not what you will prescribe by another. And there is also a similarity of needs when you analyze the demography of youth even across the state. The depravity and the challenges for youth in Ogun West is not the same as Ogun East. I can tell you for free that 75% of the youth in Ogun West, they are engaged in 3 things. Either Okada business or cross-border transactions. You know, I was very mild in the characterization of the language. It is cross-border transaction because when what you were advocating for is missing, the youth will find means of survival. And that is why, in that particular aspect, education is going to be very, very key. An investment in education is going to be very key and targeted to those youths. I organized in 2019 a youth summit in Ogun West, almost 700 youths. And then we tried to organize them into area groups, trying to know whether you are for technology, you are for this, you are for that, so that I can see how we can organize them into cooperative, and then they set up a venture just like they have in South Africa. It failed. It failed because how do you nurture a youth that is already exposed to income of 70,000, 80,000 every week, and then you want to now put them into a fairly long-term venture that will earn them 20% of what they were used to? It's a big issue. But what I am saying is, holistically, you cannot just say we are going to create this, we are going to, if I come here and begin to tell you the textbook will create jobs for youth, will create this for you, I'm sure your professors here will look at me and say, does he understand what is involved? We must analyze this. And this is where the strategic partnership between the political class and the academia is key and important, because this research and statistics, they are best carried out by those in the academia. And then they will now analyze. It is on the basis of their findings that we will profile what do this one need and how can we assist this youth, because we already have their database, and then we'll be able to do it. Of course, what can we do? There are many things you can do. You can do empowerment programs, you can do critical trainings, you can do training the trainer, you can organize them into cooperative group, and then they form a company, and then we have so many untapped lands, agricultural lands, that we can deploy them into and then get them to be good, great farmers, while we will assist them in agriculture, in fishing, in poultry, and in many other things, in technology. So many things that can gainfully assist all these youths. But you don't just dive into those things without understanding the structure and the dynamics of the particular class we are talking about. Chairman of the session, forgive me, àwọn òyìnbó kan ṣòro sọ, ya Yorùbá kan ṣòro sọ, ẹni kí n sọ ní Yorùbá, àwọn kan tí mo àgbọ́ Yorùbá o, ṣùgbọ́n when we are doing presentations like this, then because we learned some of this training in Yoruba, in English, we always prefer communication in English. Ìjọ tí law school, Nigerian law school to train wa as lawyers bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí jẹ́ ká sọ Yorùbá. Ìjọ tí courtroom bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí jẹ́ ká sọ Yorùbá. Ìjọ yẹn á ràn wá lọ́wọ́. And let me just say this on a lighter note. When we were going through some of our court cases that we survived, we now requested the court to listen to a video of the primary election that we had, because some people said we didn't have it, and we had the video. And then that video was in Yoruba, because everything politician, Yoruba. And one of the rulings, sadly, of the court was we cannot comprehend this video because it was not communicated in English, and that the proper thing we could have done was to do an interpretation of the video content or subtitle it, certify it by a special linguistic, and then we present it. So Emma Binusa òyìnbó yẹn náà amama yimo náà ní títí foundation yẹn máa fi repair. I think I've answered your question.
Thank you, sir. The next question will come from Ajia. Thank you.
Your Excellency, sir, all other protocols duly extended. Starting my question with education, sir. We discover we have shortage of teachers in our schools, various schools, especially in the primary and post-primary sector. So, when you become the governor of Adia State, what do you intend doing in order to bridge the gap of shortage of teachers in our schools? And still on education, most of our schools are overpopulated. The infrastructural facilities are grossly inadequate. What are your plans towards that? And still on education, sir, we want to, as Muslims, we want to pay importance to employment of religious teachers, because the rate at which the youth are going astray is so much and worrisome. So what do you intend to do towards employing religious teachers to reduce the rate of moral decadence in our society? And secondly, for health, as mothers, we are disturbed, we are not happy. at the rate at which our pregnant mothers are dying and the infants. So what do we intend doing to ensure that our pregnant women deliver safely and the youths and the infants are able to survive? Because what we discover and observe is that we have shortage of professional qualified health workers in most of our health centers and hospitals. What are your plans in ensuring that the numbers there are adequate and are retained? In terms of, then what are your plans, sir, in the inclusion of women in your government, in case you become the president, I mean the governor of our dear states?
Thank you.
I want you to be specific, sir. The percentage of women inclusion in your government, we want to hear that too. Then what are your plans too in tapping the, in ensuring the untapped resources in our dear states? What are your plans towards that? Because we have a lot of resources that are not tapped. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir, as I'm a woman, I want to be personal this time around.
Sorry, madam. Sorry, excuse me.
I want to give kudos.
Excuse me. Please. Let's go to ask that.
Thank you, sir. You asked 3 broad questions, or actually 4: education, health, women participation, and untapped resources. Shortages of teachers. I come from the private sector, and I've had that often been described as a shortcoming in politics. At the age of 20, I graduated from the University of Lagos. At the age of 24, I started an insurance company of my own called Regency Alliance Insurance. At the age of 30, Regency Alliance became a publicly quoted insurance company tradable on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So I have lived an entire life of service in the financial services sector. The benefit of the private sector is we keep promises. Otherwise, that company will fail. So when you see an administration and they've given some promises like I am giving, and they did 4 years or whatever, and you have a panel that is seated like this, the easiest evaluation is not to ask fresh questions, is to simply bring out a list of promises and begin to check. Did you do this? Did you do this? Because in politics and public administration, a lot of people get away with things because questions were not being asked on the promises they made some years back before they come back to give new promises. In the private sector, when we have shortages of staff, we ask every component of departments to declare vacancy, and that's what they do in the public sector. And then we advertise and get people. But in the public sector, you will see that there is a lot of brain drain. Brain drain, not the typical japa for teachers. You have that in the medical. drain that teachers are now shifting to other things. That's why you now have teachers that have supermarkets, teachers that have poultry, teachers that have other things. And teaching is now, rather than their profession, is just a vocational pastime. And because of that commitment and shift, you now see interest waning and people outrightly resigning. Number two, those teachers have seen other teachers who lived through the process, retired, and never got their entitlement. So what many of them will just do is wait until you can get the early retirement, maybe 10 years gratuity, just go out. Whatever peanut they give to you, I want to use that money to start some business somewhere. That's why people are leaving. And then you now have another brain drain to the private schools. I'll also tell you, I own a school. My wife is the proprietress of the school, and the school has been running for 25 years. You can research it. It's one of the leading nursery and primary school in Bagada. It's called Bethel Nursery School. Bagada, Lagos. It's 25 years old. So we deal with teachers. We've recruited teachers. We've terminated employment of teachers. And we know what the teachers want. When teachers are not fairly treated, teachers will go. How do you explain teachers that have not got their salaries for 4 months? Or how do you explain the retired teachers that have not received gratuity of so many years? And then many of them die without getting their entitlement. Yesterday, I was with the Nigerian Union of Pensioners. We had a meeting with them. I had a lot about what they went through. So, the first thing to do is to ensure that teachers are well treated. They will get their money as and when due. They will get their promotion as at when due. And they will be encouraged. A situation where you ask teachers to use their personal money to run school until you are able to recover some things and they get their own back, it doesn't make sense. A situation where you ask teachers to go and make photocopy of exam scripts with their own money, the question paper that they will administer. These are the things going on. I'm not here to run. I'm here to sell my market. My market is ADC. But these are the things that we have to fix. So we will treat teachers well and they will stay. What our administration will do is to evaluate what is wrong. We are going to have strategic meetings with the Union of Teachers. We are going to know their problems. And we are going to listen to them. Whatever gap that has existed in the past, we will fill it and we will get teachers. Teachers will be regularly trained and exposed to training. Because when you train teachers, their love for the profession is enhanced. But I must salute the teachers of Ogun State for their endurance and sacrifice to all our pupils. And may Allah bless all our teachers. Facilities should be provided. It is still why the teachers will not stay. I conducted a study, and I will share it if you have platform later, soft copy. I got 5,042 people who are volunteers. We deployed them to units like our so-called polling units. And I said, go to 3 schools, take photographs of those schools and send. I have pictures. So they brought almost 15,000 photographs, which we have now, on the conditions of the school. You talk about those facilities. It's not about painting the roof in a color. That is like a scam, because when you just see roof like that, you say that's our project. No, what is inside? Do we have those teachers at these seats? Do we have? There are schools. In short, don't let me go into all. We will ensure that facilities are provided for the teachers. For religious education, oh, we've lost a lot because we have relegated religion in the schools. Not just in the school, even in the homes. Because the charity they say begin from the home. Now you can't even discipline any child. They call it child abuse. These are all those things that built us up because of Western ideals that have crept in, that have supplanted religion. Then you are now seeing all these traits. A primary school child bringing gun, bringing knife, and then you are now having cultism in primary school. Now, I thank God for Islam and I thank God for Christianity. If all these teachings of the Holy Prophet, may peace be unto him, if they were introduced and taught with commitment and practiced, then we will have a better school than what we have. For me, ADC administration will lift religion up even in our school. And thank God, my own deputy governor, Alhaji Tunde Onuga, there is a devout Muslim, committed and practicing Muslim. And I'm sure he has told me a lot of things about division as far as Islam is concerned in regulating behavior and standard of humanity, not just school children, even adults and so on. So I promise you, I will listen to him. For the health, you raised the issue of maternal and infant mortality. It's worse. When that video was being shown, I was waiting to see the profile because you will be scared. The infant and maternal mortality rate in our state is very bad. And do you know why? Because there is no real health system that prepares adequately prepare antenatal treatment for all our pregnant women. And this is just shortage of vision, because the state doesn't have to do it. Partnership, effective partnership with insurance institutions can reasonably provide antenatal treatment and evaluation for women and take care of their needs without them relying on money or anything. They just go there. Let me say this. Even though I called myself private, I've also had the opportunity of serving in the public sector. I was for 3 years the chairman of University of Uyo Teaching Hospital. A teaching hospital that is big, like the size of our FMC. And all this maternal and infant mortality, they are serious concerns. And I have seen with my eyes what we needed to do. But the interesting thing is the state doesn't have to use its own money. You can plan with the appropriate private sector and they design something that every pregnant woman will simply go to a location and get their fruits and get their medication. Why do they die? It's not just the delivery risk. It is mostly the pre-delivery mishandling that causes all this. We are going to correct all those things, inshallah.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, sir. Barrister, it's your turn for a learned colleague.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Chairman, and Your Excellency. Permit to stand on the existing protocol, sir. Much has been asked and said, particularly in the area of education. But what we see that is much more important is not to make children have access to education, but the quality of the education itself. Today, as a professor said, he said Nigeria is running an education based on the theories of practicals, and when he went to India, he came back and said, what I saw in India was a different scenario. He said, India is doing the practical of theories. And this reminds me, one of my younger ones just finished from one of our polytechnics in Ogun State. I don't want to be too specific. So he graduated from Department of Computer Engineering. And I called him to my office, can you just help me fix some things on my computer system? He said no. I said why? He said for the years he spent in the polytechnic, we were never allowed to even touch a computer, not talking of even repairing anything in the computer. I said, which kind of education is this? So that we have to take our computer system to the technician in the shops, and we have graduates in computer engineering that cannot even fix the simplest thing in our computer. So what do you have to do, sir, Your Excellency, in making our education not only accessible, but being a world-class quality? That's the first question, sir. The second question is, as regards the welfare, particularly the civil servants. I have friends in the civil service, and what they always report to me does not endear me to join the civil service. Why? I said the welfare of the civil servants, sir. And I have friends in the civil service that what they tell me on a regular basis does not endear me to join the civil service. Is that, for example, the issue of their, what is it called, their cooperative funds. That I don't know why a government should do that. Dipping his hand in the cooperative funds of the civil servants. That most of them, they are left with less than 10% of their salary. Both wives and the husband. What do you have to say on this, sir? Will you continue with that legacy or bring out a particle change, sir? That's the second question, sir. The third question has to do with infrastructure, and which I've been partly dealt with. But I want to be more particular in this regard, sir. The state of our roads. Ogun State is being, described as a gateway state. And we believe that being a gateway state should have all its ways as, the best in the country. But this is not the reality. All its roads, For example, last week I was on my way to the High Court in Ilaro, and we have to take the route from Shagamu to Abeokuta, Lagos Old Road, before I could get to Ilaro. Whereas we have the Papaland 2 years in Shagamu, that should take us nothing less than, if it's in a good condition, not less than 30 minutes to my destination at the High Court in Ilaro. But you have to route our way to Abeokuta from Shagamu. Please, what we do to assist, the citizens of Ogun State in this regard, sir. And these two other questions are particularly related to the Muslims' interest, sir. Muslim interest, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. Of recent, we just got an appointment of about 8 new judges yet to be sworn in. And out of these 8, only one appointee is a Muslim. And we're talking about justice, equity, and fair play. And if you look at the judiciary today, it's like ratio 1:7. Before you can find a Muslim judge, you find a non-Muslim judge, non-Muslim judges that are 7 in number, ratio 1:7. And our population does not say that the Muslim are in ratio 7:1 to others. How will you regulate this, sir? And lastly is on the issue of hijab. On the issue of hijab, as learned seniors, sir, we're aware the rule of law. The last year, I think, the Supreme Court have made the final pronouncement on the constitutionality of hijab. But today, we still find it that most of our girls, ladies are being scared away from school, from wearing their hijab. How will you deal with this to show that in your own administration, if you happen to be the next governor of your state, the Muslim will feel well treated and fairly taken care of? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Quality education. You talked about not we should think beyond just access to education, but to ensure quality and relevant education are provided. You are looking at the area of curricula. I don't claim expertise I can only give a broad statement, but I know how to make use of professional and experts. And that is the strength in leadership. Of course, it's a subject that I am fully grounded on. But what I'm going to tell you about school curricula, design of curricula, and aligning it with relevance, they are best handled by professionals. You talked about technical education in India, and then you talked about deploring education just for the sake of it. And then you yourself had analyzed it. You used the example of university computer science graduate, and then you just see somebody who just learned this thing. The good news is that globally, evidence is showing us that entrepreneurial skills develop economies faster. And when you see the list of profitable careers, you are likely to find all of them being things that you do with your hands. Than the regular thing. That in those days, just ask anybody, what do you want to be? If the child is not looking to be a doctor, he wants to be an engineer, he wants to be a lawyer. But emphasis is changing. And our state must recognize those changes. I was having a discussion with the deputy governor. This is his area. And maybe another forum he will talk to you about it. He brought out his concept of industrialization to me. Because in the water side, they have the gateway, oil gateway, something at Oni there. And I see the incredible work that had been done. I think during the OGD era, it was set up, and you now see even Niger Dock coming into strategic partnership with the government to train people in welding, in some of these things, and they are building them to be solid and robust engineers. I know what you are talking. So, I will listen to the experts. It's a field that is vast on its own. But we are going to make sure that the curricula is relevant. I made an inquiry to find out whether the federal government regulates the curriculum of states, but no, thankfully. So it's not on the exclusive list of the federal. So it's within our capacity to change. And we will change it and ensure that, you know, the curriculum matches the reality of needs in the society. Infrastructure, we have great plans. All these roads that you are talking about is even worse. It's even worse. Sadly, transparency is missing, and you cannot really align some of these rules to the so-called budget. For instance, the so-called cost of erecting the city gates when you are coming from Shagam, city gates, 7 billion. That city gate can do 13 rural roads if there is transparency and there is no stealing. So my own thing with infrastructure is either it's not being well planned or not well being channeled to the appropriate. But our administration, we are going to take it serious and ensure that we develop infrastructure. You talk about the civil service remuneration. When I repeat some of these things, it's like I'm attacking, but it's the reality which we must address. And you also talked about deduction from cooperative. That is indiscipline. The money so deducted from cooperative is not government's money. It's not government money. And then with impunity, then you take it. In my profession law, the definition of theft is this: when a person dishonestly misappropriates or appropriates the property belonging to another. The money you took from people, deducted, and you pulled it for investment purpose, and then they created cooperative so that people will borrow and develop their lifestyle, then you should change them. It's like you are not paying salaries. So it's wrong. It's wrong. And I've not entered government, we will soon enter it. If it is a critical deficiency or a deficit or funding gap that is so critical, there are ways of doing it that you won't have to touch that. There are ways. You don't have to physically spend the money. This is not a forum for financial engineering, but I'm saying as somebody that is in the financial services sector, if I have that pool, then I don't have to take out of it to draw credit and to solve problems if I have to. Thank God, so many of the state governments are now recognizing bonds as ways of solving some of their problems. So if you have all those bonds that you can source or create to solve short-term, medium-term problems, then why take monies that truly belongs to workers? It is wrong, and we will not do it. Inequality. You talked about the judges and this. Look, this problem of inequality goes, not just religion. Yes, I understand. I saw those 8 judges. I didn't even allocate them like that. But I will tell you a short story. I was a member of the Ogun State Judicial Service Commission for 2 years. So when people say he's an insurance man, I've also done things within the state. Ogun State Judicial Service Commission, the one that recruits judges, so we recruit judges. But I was appointed from Ogun West Senatorial District. So it's my responsibility to be on the lookout for the Ogun West people. Now they wanted to recruit 12 judges. And I sat there and they said they've done written tests, oral tests, and they brought the results. I'm going to be careful here so that I don't play regions again. But a region out of 12 had 6. Another region had 5. My own One. And I said, my Lord, the former CJ, this cannot go. Lie. How do I go back home? And they were like, what do you want us to do? That's what they score. That's what they score. And it's merit based. I'm telling you what they are likely to tell you. That they did this test, did that test, and this one scored this one and this. Then I said you are going to undo the merit list on the basis of justice, equity, and fairness. The next problem is when they wanted to remove from the one that has 6, their representatives said, do you know how it ended? They had to write a special request to the governor to increase the 12 to 13 to accommodate 2 for my region. You can transpose that reasoning and argument to religion. That's what is going on. Inequality. And all those things must be addressed frontally. We will have it gender-based, female-male. We will have it on the 4 tripods that we are standing on. We will have it on religion, and we will have it even on disability. People of disability must also be recognized. This is what we call collective inclusiveness, collective government. And ours, we will not play that kind of politics of Christian. I'm a Christian, and then you want to do judges, and then you put this. But I must say this as an excuse for the governor. Just, sometimes you just provide some excuses. The responsibility, and I do this in all honesty as a lawyer, the responsibility of appointing judges rests on National Judicial Council on the recommendation of the governor. But we do know that the governor has a lot of leverage on what comes out of the National Judicial Council. Hijab, let me say this. Beyond hijab, we will obey all laws. Yes, there is a Supreme Court pronouncement, we have to obey the law. So, since the law legitimizes hijab as a freedom of choice of the person to practice his or religion, we will respect it, inshallah.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you so very much, Your Excellency. Àwọn tẹ́ bá sọ látàárọ̀ yìí, ẹ bá mi sọ lédè Yorùbá láàrin ìṣẹ́jú méjì tí ò ní jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ìṣẹ́jú méjì ní ẹjọ́, àsìkò wa ti ó ti.
Iṣẹ́ ńlá nìyẹn.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
Mo kí Ọlọ́run ọba. Ẹ bá mi yọ̀ǹbọ̀ ànábì. Nǹkan tá a ti ń sọ látàárọ̀ ni a ti ń wo bí ẹgbẹ́ ADC bí wọ́n ṣe máa ṣe ìjọba. A ti gbé ètò ẹ̀kọ́ yẹ̀wò. A ti gbé ètò ìṣúná owó yẹ̀wò. Ṣíṣe títì àti nǹkan amáyédẹrùn fún àwọn èèyàn wa. A tún ti gbé ọ̀rọ̀ ẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà ẹlẹ́sìnmẹ̀sìn àti gbé yẹ̀wò. Èmi Biyi Otegbeye, the governorship candidate of ADC, àti Alhaji Tunde Awonuga, the deputy governor, à ń ṣe ìlérí fún the League of Imams wípé à á ṣe ìjọba wa dáradára, á rọ tilé tòkó lọ́rùn, à dẹ̀ ní ṣe ẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀ hanky-panky. We will not play tricks or politics with what we are doing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Ẹ jọ̀ọ́, mo ní ẹni tó lè sọ ìtumọ̀ hanky-panky fún mi ní Yorùbá. Hanky-panky ẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà. wọ́n sọ fún wa pé a ní ṣe agabagabization of policies. This program is being streamed live, and we have two questions. One from Canada. One brother Musaddiq said that, Your Excellency, if and when you become the governor of Ogun State, are you going to follow a pattern, an already existing pattern, or a kind of leadership, or you are going to introduce one? And if you are going to introduce a new one, what pattern do we expect from you? Second question also is an internet question. It says that how strong, given what we know about deputy governors and deputy this and deputy that, how strong will this deputy governor be if you become a governor?
Thank you. Talking about patterns in governance, we must be very careful in understanding patterns. I'm sure some people will readily say, is he coming with his own ideas? A radical departure from the existing administration, or is he going to throw everything away? No. From what I have said and my pedigree, you should know that this man is not a clueless dummy that is just put there. He has his own intellect, he has his own judgment and mind. But why should good pattern not be emulated? Why should good models not be respected? So, in answering the question, if I see any good pattern or any good model or ideas, even from this administration that we go, because they will go, if anything good is seen, or from the model of Baba Oshoba, or from the model of Otumba Gbenga Daniel, or from the model of Senator Ibikunle Amosun, or I didn't see much from this one. But the only thing I salute this administration for is one thing: COVID. Because in COVID, maybe 12 people died in Ogun State, but at huge billions. But at least they saved life. So they didn't watch us die. So sir, when we see patterns from all our past leaders and they are useful models, we are going to respect it, we are going to use it. But I must tell you, no pattern, no matter how you want to use it, can be just taken literally. Every model patterns must be amended and adjusted in the context of current realities. So we have to do all those ones. Whether my deputy is going to be like báwọn kan ṣe ṣe tiwọn, kò ní rí bẹ́ẹ̀ o. Àmọ́ àwọn kan tó jẹ́ pé kí deputy governor wọn tó rí wọn, wọ́n máa ń dúró sí waiting room ní fún 4 hours o, deputy governor. Bẹ́ẹ̀ làwọn ọ̀rẹ́ wọn máa wọlé, wọ́n máa jáde, wọ́n máa wọlé, wọ́n máa jáde. Kí speaker assembly kó tó rí wọn, ó máa ń jókòó 3 hours 4 hours. Àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ wọn, wọ́n wọlé, wọ́n jáde. Kí àwọn bàbá wa imam àti àwọn ọba aládé tó rí wọn, wọ́n ń lo wákàtí 10. Àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ wọn wọlé, wọ́n jáde. Àwa ò ní ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Ní àkótán pátápátá ní ohun tẹ́ bá wa sọ ń bì níkàlẹ̀ yìí ẹ̀ ń bá gbogbo àwọn mùsùlùmí Ogun State sọ̀rọ̀ kí lè rí sí pínre láàrin ẹ ti sọ tẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n bó ṣe rí bó ṣe dáago yìí kí ni ọ̀rọ̀ dájú ṣáká látẹnu yín sí gbogbo àwa tá a wà ń kàlà táwọn tí wọ́n ń gbọ́ wa pínre láàrin gbogbo àyè tó wà nílẹ̀ tó bá yẹ kó ẹ̀ lẹ́bọ̀ sípò pínre láàrin ká ṣe kó dọ́gba.
èmi fọwọ́ sí o wípé ká pín ire ká láàrin ni o.
ìlérí ni mò ń béèrè sà kò ṣe fọwọ́ sí ìlérí n ta fẹ́ mú lọlé kí ni ká mú lọlé.
ṣe rí iwájú ọlọ́run ọba làwà yìí èmi máa ń yan ọ̀rọ̀ mi ó yan tiri torí pé gbogbo wa báyìí la máa jẹ́rìn iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ wa tí n bá débi ìjọba tí adájọ́ mẹ́jọ wà ń bẹ̀ tí mo rí pé wọn ò pín ire wọn ò láàrin ṣá máa lé wọn ni a máa wo ìbéèrè yẹn o a nílé wọn ṣùgbọ́n nǹkan tá a máa ṣàkìtìyàn ẹ̀ ni pé yìí tá a máa tún yàn á cover up gap yẹn dáadáa.
ẹ̀yin ò dáa ẹ̀yin ò dáa.
a máa ṣe tá a máa fi ṣàtúnṣe ẹ̀ ní o.
ẹ̀yin ò dáa.
mo rò pé mo yànnà mọ́ ẹ̀ torí kì í ṣe pé ká débẹ̀ kọ́ ni adájọ́ mẹ́jọ yìí méjì ní tiwa wọ́n dẹ̀ ìjọ mẹ́jọ méjì ó yẹ kó ti lé mẹ́fà ń bí kó di méjì méjì irú ìyẹn kọ́ ni o ìyẹn mo ṣe take time mi láti ṣàlàyé bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Mr. Chairman, sir, you may want to give a closing remark so we can close up. It's already Zuri time.
ẹ jọ sáà kẹ́ tó close bóyá ẹ gbà láyè kó tiẹ̀ kí àwọn jọmọ́ ẹ jọ.
We do not allow that, sir. Your Excellency, Your Excellency, I will involve him when it is time, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, sir.
Moderator, thank you. Your Excellency, sir, we thank you for honoring this invitation and coming in. Well, what you said, we've heard it. And we believe it's not for saying alone. It's for doing as what you said. We believe in it. And we believe when you get there, we are going to hold you responsible. Not until when you get there now, we're not able to talk to you again. Or you will not say, events are taking over that place. And I believe the Muslims in Ogun State will not regret if you become the governor of this state. And I thank the Imams, the Alfas, and the Alfas for being here, for doing this. The moderators and those who are, though we cannot have time. There should be some questions from the audience because the time when you are going to go any papa mora nílé ṣe yẹn bóyá káwọn èrò ọkàn béèrè ìbéèrè lọ́wọ́ yín ṣùgbọ́n ẹ foríjì wá àwọn ẹran tó wà lóyún wọn foríjì wá pé kò lè ṣeé ṣe tí ààyè bá yọ ní ọjọ́ míì á ṣeé ṣe fún gbogbo wa ẹ ṣe gan sà. Deputy ẹ má bínú gan ẹ ní jẹ́ spare tire o active engine lẹ máa jẹ́ pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run tó bá di next time náà a máa accommodate yín ẹ ṣe sà. Thank you sir.
Thank you the chairman. Èyí tó kàn sí ni pé kí adíje dupò gómìnà fún ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn kí wọ́n wá sọ́dọ̀ àwọn bàbá láti wá gba certificate of attendance. Àsìkò yìí ni deputy governor máa join ní láti lọ gba certificate. Ẹ máa bọ̀ lọ́dọ̀ àwọn bàbá kí wọ́n gba certificate. Nígbà tí bàbá wa àgbà tí wọ́n wà níkàlẹ̀ bàbá wa tí wọ́n represent bàbá wa Imam láti Ìjẹ̀bú. Baba Imam Shele Rufai tó jẹ́ Grand Mufti of Ogun State ọ̀nà wọn bá wa fún wọn ní certificate yìí. Sorry, please remain seated, please. We do not allow Can you allow crowd in be to your long? Please remain seated. Remain seated, please. Please remain seated. Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor, please come forward. Come with him so you can take the certificate. Chairman, sir, ẹ bá mi join wọn láti give certificate yẹn. Ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn bàbá sà. Yes. Àwọn bàbá wa mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin gbọ́dọ̀ yọ nínú fọ́tò yìí dáadáa. Dáadáa. Èmi nìkan mi gbọ́dọ̀ yọ ń bẹ̀ o. Ẹ kí n súnmọ́ yín fún yín. Na adúpẹ́ kọ ẹ jẹ́ ká ya group photograph sìn bí sà nígbà tí a fẹ́ máa tò wọ́n bá mi tò wọ́n fún group photograph a fẹ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo àwọn ìjọ àti ẹgbẹ́gbẹ́ wọ̀nyí Alfas Korib, the Form 1 of Ogun State, the Dawa Front of Nigeria, Shamsuddin Al-Quran Al-Islami, Islamic Humanitarian Society, Tausaf, the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Dawat al-Haq, CIPA, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jama'ah, Ansarudeen Society of Nigeria, the Crescent Muslim Professional. Gbogbo àwọn eléyìí tí ipa tó ní kálukú wá kó kọlọ̀kọ̀ sàn wá lẹ́sàn dáadáa.
lẹ́yìn yẹn àwọn panelists kan join panelists please join.
ẹ jẹ́ kí àwọn party members lè fẹ́ join wọn o láì ju bíi márùn mẹ́fà lọ ó dé ní èèyàn mẹ́fà ni máa gbà o ó di 1 ó di 2 ó di 3 bàbá mi nìyẹn ó di 4 ó di 5 àyè wà fún èèyàn kan sí èèyàn kan ó ti kún. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ìwọ̀nba ni mo lè dáhùn bàbá mi dúró níwọ̀nba o. After 3 it will be up. 1, 2, 3. Ẹ ṣeun. Ẹ káàbọ̀ sà. Protocol, please take charge. Protocol, take charge. Protocol, take charge. Okay. Okay, I'll come up with for me, please.